instructor.
Sorry.
That's all right. I'm a group exercise instructor, and here at Aetna CVS, our group exercise program is very popular. It's a great way for people to come into a class, see friends, move around. It's a lot of fun, and it takes the guesswork out of it. We tell them exactly what to do, how to do it. We make them accountable for all their activity. All right, the next slide we're going to talk about is exercise intensity. And this is really important. This is where you have people that start off too hard, too fast, and they get really sore. So if we're talking about aerobic activity, there's an easy way to find out if your intensity is the right intensity for you. So let's say you're going for a walk with one of your friends, and your friend is going a little bit faster than you want to go. And as you're going, you're talking, and all of a sudden you're out of breath. And you're going so fast, and you're so out of breath that you feel like you just sprinted or you ran up a flight of stairs. That's too high. You want to try to find a little bit lower intensity. Or if you're walking with someone who's really slow, and you're going really slow, and you're talking, and you're able to talk to them at the same level as if you were sitting down having a conversation. That's a little bit too low. You need to increase that intensity so that way you get a little bit more benefit from the activity you're doing. The best and easiest way to find out if it's the right intensity, it's called the talk test. So if you're having a walk with your friend and you're talking, and every once in a while you get a little out of breath and you think, okay, you talk for a while, let me catch my breath. And then you can catch your breath. That's a good level, the talk test. All right. You can click through those, Colleen. Thank you. All right. So the second component we're going to talk about is resistance training or weight training. A lot of people say, I don't like weight training. It's going to hurt. Well, there's a lot of ways to do weight training so that way it doesn't hurt. The benefits, the first one helps burn calories. So 1 pound of muscle on your body will burn 50 calories per day. So the more muscle you have, the more calories you're going to burn just sitting down, sleeping, being at rest. Another benefit is it helps prevent injuries. The muscle tissues is elastic, so if you are doing, let's say you're going gardening, you haven't gardened since last year, and you're bending over and you're pulling weeds, the more muscle endurance you have, the more weeds you'll be able to pull without getting as tired or without getting as sore. Another example I want to give you, I had, there's a couple clients I trained, husband and wife, both in their upper 70s. One of the things that he mentioned to me after a while of training is he was kind of accident prone. He would trip and fall and always come on training to have a Band-Aid or a bruise. And after a while of training, he finally said to me, you know, I still trip all the time, but I don't fall as much as I used to. I now have the strength to catch myself. So I think that's important as we begin to age, helping prevent injuries because we have more muscle. Another benefit is it helps with your posture. So as you're sitting, as we all do far too much during the daytime, you're sitting at your desk, you're leaning forward, you're on your computer, those muscles get tired. And as you sit, your muscles in your legs, your hamstrings start to get shorter, and your low back and your hamstrings are connected. So as the muscles fatigue, your posture starts to decline. As you stand up, you'll feel that muscle soreness, muscle tight, which also is another reason why we have so much low back pain, because we sit too much. Having more muscle endurance will help increase your posture and help reduce that muscle soreness. Another benefit of resistance training is it makes you feel less fatigued. Same example with sitting all day. The muscles in the back get tired after a while. If those muscles have more endurance, it takes a lot longer for them to get tired. The last benefit I want to talk about is it helps you sleep better. So when you exercise and you do weight training, you might have heard fatigue the muscle, overload the muscle. When the muscle's overloaded, the way that it gets stronger is when it's resting, it rebuilds stronger. So that's a really complex situation to have the muscles rebuild. And the best time for that to rebuild is when we're sleeping at night. So if you've done some weight training and your muscles are rebuilding, it's going to help you sleep more soundly. All right, there's a lot of examples of resistance training or weight training. The first example is a body sculpting class. There's a lot of cool names for them. It might be Tone or Tabata or boot camp. Any type of class where you're using exercise weights or your body weight to fatigue your muscles is an example of a body sculpting class. And there's a lot of those available online as well. I know here at Aetna and CVS, there's a video group called Grokr that we use all the time, and it's a great video library for you to use. Another good example of resistance training is strength training machines. You can either be at a fitness center or you can buy equipment for your house. The machines are great because you can sit down in the machine, you press out and in, you don't have to worry about form, you're not going to get hurt, and you can adjust the weight very easily to the right weight for you. Another example would be household items. So let's say now that we're all buying equipment online, all the stores are sold out. So we can't find weights online anymore. So how am I going to do any bicep curls or shoulder press? Go to the cabinet, get some soup cans, get some water bottles. If you want something a little heavier, grab a gallon of milk or a gallon of water. You can also put some weights or some bottles of water in a backpack and do body weight exercises with your backpack. Another example of weight training is also body weight exercises. Good example is push-ups. And John knows this very well. I say all the time, a day without push-ups is a day without sunshine. And a lot of people say, I can't do push-ups. That's not true. If you walk up to the wall, put your hands against the wall, lean forward, go close and back, that's a push-up. If that's easy, take a step back, make it a little bit more challenging. You can work your way all the way down to regular one-handed push-ups. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe later. Another good example of weight training are crunches. Abdominal work, sit-ups. A word we use now is core training. Core represents any of the muscles in the midsection, your front, the back, the side. That will help you with posture and also help you with all your other activities. The last exercise, a good example for body weight training, would be squats or chair stands. Now, I know that we all work from home. I know that we're all on meetings all the time. And I know we all have said, I don't have time. So here's a great way. What I'd like everyone to do right now is in your chair, I'd like you to please go ahead and stand up and then sit down. Now I know since I can't see you, some of you are like, no, I'm not doing that. Come on, join us. Let's try to get stand up and sit down. That's not too bad, right? That's 2. Let's try for 5. One more time. Ready? Up and down. All right. How many? Let's do 2 more. Ready? Up and down. And one more time. Ready? Up and down. Nice job. So hopefully all you did 5 repetitions of chair stands. All right, let's go on to the third component of exercise, which is flexibility. Flexibility is one of those things where a lot of people don't have a lot of time. So they'll do, I only have 45 minutes for exercise, so I'm gonna do 45 minutes on a treadmill and I'm gonna go away. Flexibility is one of the easiest and least time-consuming components of exercise, and there's huge benefits. So if you have a 45-minute workout planned, even if you stop a couple minutes early and focus on stretching the muscle groups that you just used, you're gonna really have some benefits. Some of the benefits include improve your joint mobility, help prevent injury, and also help prevent muscle soreness. A lot of times people have heard of the term lactic acid. That's a byproduct of exercise. So if you work really hard and do a little bit more than you're ready for, stretching will help flush out some of that lactic acid and will help reduce some of that muscle soreness. Some examples of flexibility training are reaching over your head, big stretch up. Another one, if you're standing, you hinge forward, reach down, touch your toes. And some of you say, well, I haven't touched my toes. I can't do that. Touch your knees, touch below your knees. Go to a stretch that you feel comfortable at and hold it. All right, the last good example for flexibility would be?
It's not on there.
Oh, it's gone, all right. Well, those 2 examples will work for now. And we're actually gonna do some stretching at the end of this presentation, so we'll go over a bunch more of them. All right, the next thing I wanna talk about is goal setting. A lot of times people make a goal and they just kind of throw it out there. Well, that's really hard to accomplish that goal unless you really make it SMART. So SMART stands for a few things. Number 1, your goal should be specific. So if you say, it's just out there. You say, I want to lose 20 pounds in 3 months, it's a little bit more specific. You say, I want to lose 20 pounds by eating better and exercising, that's even more specific. So the more specific your goal is, the more accountable it will be. The M for SMART goal is measurable. You want to lose 20 pounds? It might take a while. So there should be a way to measure that goal throughout the time that you set for the goal. And I use the weight loss for the goal. Maybe Monday mornings, every Monday morning, step on the scale. If your goal is I want to lose 1 pound a week, every Monday morning, make a chart, write it down, and it will help you measure that goal. The A for SMART goal will be achievable. If you say to yourself, I want to lose 50 pounds, that might not be the right goal for you. Also, if you say I want to lose 50 pounds and you do a great job and lose 20, you might reevaluate your goal and say, well, 30 actually might be better than 50. So make sure it's achievable. The R in SMART goal is reward. Now the reward, that's important. So if your goal was to eat better and lose weight, your reward shouldn't be ice cream sundaes or going out for happy hours. Let's do something that will help you achieve your goal. Maybe a new pair of sneakers. Maybe you're losing weight, maybe some new exercise clothes. You're sick and tired of listing those soup cans for weights and they're no longer a challenge. So why don't you buy a set of 5-pound hand weights? Make the reward a little bit more towards your goal. And the last, the T in SMART goal, is time frame. It's really important to pick a time frame because if you don't, you're not accountable. If you say, I'm going to lose 20 pounds, whenever, it may not happen. So you want to make sure your goal is SMART, it's specific, measurable, achievable, give yourself the reward, and make sure you set a time frame. All right, so we're going to work on setting your SMART goal. There are things that you should think about, and this is something when you set your goal, you should sit down with a piece of paper and a pen and really give it some thought. What are the benefits of the exercise that are most important to you? Is it cardiovascular? Is it burning calories? Is it improving your aerobic capacity? Is it weight training? Do you want to look better in the bathing suit over the summer? Do you want to, in the springtime, you're putting on those jeans that you wore last fall, and for some reason they shrank over the winter. I don't know why. But you want to make sure the exercise, what the goal is most important to you. You should also want to exercise your goal. Your exercise goal should consist of each week. So if you say you want to lose 20 pounds in 3 months, you want to break it down on a weekly basis. You want to make it short and specific. So if your goal is to lose 20 pounds, what are you going to do this first week? What are you going to do the second week? Another thing you should do when you're setting your SMART goal is you want to figure out what time of day and days of the week are best for you. Now, we open the fitness center at 5 o'clock in the morning. Now, there is a line of people waiting at 5 o'clock in the morning to come in and work out. Now, you might say, 5 o'clock in the morning, there's no way I'm getting up at 5. Then that's not the right time for you. Sometimes after work, people say, well, I'm too tired, I've been working all day. That might not be the right time for you too. So you may want to try different times. Sometimes getting up early might be, even though you want to sleep later, it might be the best thing. The day of the week is also important. Certain days of the week, Mondays might be tougher than Fridays. Sometimes on weekends, you might have a little bit more free time to yourself to do more activity. And also too, if you want to exercise with family members or friends, they might be available after work, after school, or on weekends. Another thing you want to think about when you're setting your SMART goal is what excites you the most about reaching your goal. Why do you want that goal? That is something you can put on the refrigerator, just a little piece of paper that helps remind you every time, that's why I'm making this goal. And the last thing about setting your goal is your SMART goal is you want to think about your exercise barriers or your excuses and find your solution. And the most important thing is you want to make it fun. All right, guys, we're going to take a little break here. We're going to go on to the next slide. I'd like you all to take a second to stand up, and we're going to take a couple deep breaths in. This is something you can do while you're working. If you're on a meeting or on a call, it's going to help increase your oxygen flow, help get your muscles and blood moving around. So let's take a deep breath in. Big inhale up. And exhale down. And one more time, big inhale up. Exhale down. And let's do that one more time. Deep breath in. And exhale. All right. How's everyone doing so far? All right. We got slide deck number 2 on its way. If you at home, you have any, no problem. If you have any questions about anything we've talked about, and feel free to go ahead and send them in. Again, like I said, if you think of questions after the presentation, we will have my contact information is on the first slide. So feel free to shoot me an email anytime. I'd be happy to answer your questions. All right. So the first part of this presentation, we talked about what it means to exercise. And a lot of the information is things that you already knew. So the second part of this slideshow is I want to talk about specifics. How do we make it specific for you? Okay. So the first thing is we want to plan for success. There are certain things you want to think about when you're planning your workouts. The first thing is your fitness level. Everyone has their own fitness level. And when we work with clients and we teach classes, we want the appropriate fitness level for everybody in that room. So if you're an elite athlete or if you're a beginner exerciser, you want to start at which level, at the level that is appropriate for you. Another thing we talked about is your fitness goal. Your fitness goal should be specific for you. If your friend wants to climb Mount Everest, that might be great for them, but that may not be your goal. So you want to make sure your goal is specific. Another right place to start is your fitness mode or type of exercise. You might not be a person that likes group classes. We have members that work out in the fitness center, and I'll go up on the treadmill and say, hey, you've been doing really great on the treadmill. Have you thought about trying one of our classes? And they're like, no, I really don't like classes. I'm not that coordinated, and I don't want to be in front of people. So you want to find what mode is best for you. Another important thing to think about is your exercise history. Now, when I say exercise history, that means what have you done for exercise in the last 6 months to a year? I've talked to a lot of people that were athletes in college, and then 30 years later, well, that was 30 years ago. So that was great, but it really doesn't count as your immediate history. So if you haven't been exercising or if you've been pretty much inactive, you want to start at a lower level. If you've been somewhat active, then your intensity and your exercise can be at a little bit different level. So make sure that the mode and the history is proper. Another thing I want to talk about is your injuries or limitations. A lot of people will say, well, I can't exercise because I hurt my knee, or I can't do weight training because I hurt my shoulder. Well, those are all very true. So if you have an injury, that's another good reason why you want to speak to a professional. You can always change the intensity or the type of activity to meet your specific injury. So let's say you have a knee problem and walking or running is challenging. An exercise bike where you're seated, where you're recumbent, or your feet, you're not putting pressure on your knees, that might be the right mode for you. Or even swimming. Swimming is a great way to reduce impact and still get a full body workout. Another thing about injuries, if you've ever had an injury, you may have gone to a physical therapist. Well, physical therapy is another great way to exercise. They're going to be more specific and tell you what to do for that one body part, but it's something that you can incorporate in your regular fitness routine. The other thing that's important is to talk about your likes and dislikes. There's some people that I see all the time that just really don't like weight training. They just like to do cardio. I'm a runner, I'm a walker. I don't like weight training. I don't like the way it makes me feel, and that's fine. There are other ways to incorporate exercise if there's certain things that you don't like. All right, the next place is the time availability. So if you don't have a lot of time, it's important to really compartmentalize the type of exercise, how much you're going to do. If you want to be active, it doesn't necessarily mean you need to do it for an hour. Every little bit helps. So if you don't have an hour of exercise to do just for you, maybe 10 minutes in the morning, maybe 10 minutes at lunch, 10 minutes after dinner, so you get at least 30 minutes a day of exercise.
Eric, we've got a question.
Sure, go ahead.
Speaking about dinner and food, when is the best time to exercise, before or after meals?
Great question. So I never think it's a good idea to exercise on an empty stomach, although a lot of people will get up and exercise first thing in the morning. I always think it's important to have some kind of food in your system or something to drink to give you some energy. It really depends on you. Like if you're going to eat dinner, you want to allow time for digestion. If you're going to exercise before dinner, A lot of times people want to figure out what they're going to eat to help replenish the energy they burned. So the question again was the best time around dinner time. Is that what you said? I think John cut out. So yeah, it's important to, I'm sorry.
The question was, when is the best time to eat? Is it before or after meals?
Before or after exercise. You always want to eat before exercise. So it really depends on the person, because some people don't feel like exercising after they've eaten. It might make them feel nauseous. So maybe eat something light, like something to drink or toast. Hopefully that will answer the question.
Thanks, Eric. It didn't answer the question.
Okay. And if I didn't answer the question, if you want to send me an email afterwards, I'll get more specific for you also. But thank you for the question. Really important. So if you have a goal of losing weight, get rid of all the desserts. Not everyone might be on board with that. But if you have someone that helps you and supports you, it's going to be easier for you to accomplish your goal. All right. Next, we're going to talk more specific about the 3 components of exercise. So when it comes to aerobic capacity, there are specific guidelines that you should try to follow. These are not across the board for everybody, but it's something that you want to work towards. So for aerobic activity, you should try to do that at least 5 to 7 days per week. Now, that doesn't mean you have to run a marathon 5 to 7 days a week. It means you need to be something active, something aerobic. Could be a walk, could be a bike ride. There might be a day where you do a longer activity. Let's say you walk every day at lunchtime, 5 days a week, but on Saturday, you go for a longer hike up into the mountains, the woods, or around the neighborhood. And then on Sunday, it's your rest day. Also for aerobic activity, you should try to do at least 30 to 45 minutes. It takes about 5 to 10 minutes to get into your training zone for your heart rate. So if you're doing 5 minutes of exercise, it's better than nothing, but optimally you want to try to get at least 30 to 45 minutes. And also for aerobic activity, the intensity should be moderate to challenging. We talked a little bit about the talk test earlier, and that is a good way to measure your intensity. If you want to push the limits a little bit more, the higher the intensity, the more calories you'll burn, and the sooner you'll see results. For resistance training, there are some components you want to think about for resistance training. You want to try to do weight training at least 2 to 3 days per week, and you always want to leave 1 day of rest in between. We talked a little bit before about when you weight train, the muscle actually breaks down. It's the rest day or the next day where it tries to recover and rebuild stronger. If you train every single day the same muscle groups, it may lead to an overuse injury. A lot of times, a good program would be the same full body routine, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, gives you that rest in between, and gives. For those who want to work on who really like to weight train and want to work more towards a muscle mass or bodybuilding routine, they might do something called a split program. They work some muscle groups on one day, other muscle groups the next day. So they can train more days per week, but they still allow that rest in between for each muscle group.
Eric?
Yes.
Quick question, very relevant to what you're speaking about. The question is it bad or is it wrong to only do cardio 5 times a week?
It's not wrong. It's not exactly balanced. And it really depends on what your goals are. There's a study, a case study we used to run a long time ago that they did I forget how many people were in the study, but they said the test group was people who just did cardio, just did weight training, or did a combination of both. And the test group that did a combination of both cardio and weight training saw much more results. So it's not bad. I would suggest maybe adding in some body weight stuff. Maybe when you get up in the morning, try to do some push-ups or some sit-ups or some crunches or some squats. That will be weight training, but it won't be an actual written program.
Thanks.
Okay. All right. So another thing with weight training is you want to choose the right number of sets and repetitions. Sets refers to the number of times you go through your program. So if you have 4 exercises and you go through them all once, that's 1 set. And it's really good to try to do at least 2 to 3 sets, because the more sets you do, the more fatigued the muscles will be, the more results you will see. The number of repetitions refers to the number of times you actually lift that weight. 12 to 15 is a really good number to focus on. It really crosses the boundary between tone program, endurance programs, and you're able to adjust the weight to get fatigued with the 12 to 15. The intensity should also be moderate to high or challenging. If you're lifting a weight, so you're doing a chest press machine, and you get to 15 and you can keep going all day long, you're kind of wasting your time. You want to set the resistance so that when you get to your end of your set, 12 to 15, it's challenging. So if you try to set the weight to the right level, 15 is your max, you can't do more than 15. And then flexibility is the third one. Flexibility, again, it only takes a few minutes to really focus on stretching. Stretching, you should work all major muscle groups, especially the muscle groups that you use during your activity. You want to hold each stretch for about 12 to 15 seconds, and then you want to try to never bounce when you exercise. Bouncing might cause the muscles to tear. So the stretching is a slow, controlled hold for 12 to 15 seconds. All right, now we're going to talk about warm-ups and cool-downs. Some people just like to hit the pavement and go. It's a really good idea, and your body will like you a lot more if you warm up. So why is warming up important? The first thing about warming up is it will help warm up your muscles. It'll prepare your body for exercise. So it's going to increase the amount of oxygen that your muscles are using. When you're sitting down, the level of oxygen in your muscles and in your lungs, in your bloodstream, is constant. As soon as those muscles start working, they're going to use all that oxygen in your bloodstream. That's why you start to breathe really heavy at first. So if you warm up slowly and gradually, you're going to get to that second wind phase a little bit better. You won't be as out of breath, and your muscles will like you a lot more. Warming up will also help prevent injury. Sometimes if you've been sitting, the muscles are not very elastic and not warm. So if you start going right away, the muscles might tear. So a slight warm up is always a good idea. It also makes your workouts more effective. If you warm up and get that training zone faster, the time you spend in your training zone will be for more calories and be more effective. It also makes your workout usually more enjoyable, because if you don't warm up and you pull a muscle, that's no fun. So you might ask yourself, well, how do I warm up? Warming up should be a light activity. It takes about 3 to 5 minutes. That's minimum. The longer you warm up, the better it will be. And it should include activities that are light, something that you can do that is moderate activity. All right, you also want to perform movements that will mimic the activity that you're going to do for the exercise. So if you're going to go for a jog, you might want to start with a walk. All right. You also want to perform active stretches when you are stretching. Active stretches are when you're moving. So if you're reaching, that's an active stretch. All right, now we're going to talk about cool down stretch. This is what you want to do after you exercise. Why should you cool down, take the time to stretch? Well, it'll help your heart rate recover. So anyone who knows who's exercised, as soon as you stop, your heart rate's still going. If you slow down and walk for a little while, it's going to bring your heart rate down a little bit faster. It's also going to help you use excess oxygen in the bloodstream. Many of you probably heard of the term runner's high. Well, a lot of times if you run for a long distance, you have a lot of oxygen built up in your muscles, and then you stop, your muscles stop working, all the oxygen goes to your brain. So that's, you get that elated feeling, the runner's high. Cooling down stretching will also help relax your muscles. So if the muscles were contracting while you're running, stretching will help relax them. All right, it's also going to help reduce muscle soreness. We talked about lactic acid. Stretching will help push lactic acid out of the muscles and help reduce muscle soreness. All right, stretching properly is important. Again, stretch all major muscle groups. You want to stretch before and after your activity. If you don't have time, I usually recommend stretching afterwards, because that's when your muscles are warm. And again, you want to hold each stretch for about 12 to 15 seconds. And never bounce. Bouncing might cause an injury. All right, the next slide we're going to talk about is adjustments to the intensity of your workout. A lot of you may have done a workout, have been on a program for a while, and you've hit that plateau. You no longer see results. That's when it's time to make an adjustment. It might be after a couple weeks, it might be after a month, it might be after a couple months. But it's important to change the intensity as your fitness level improves. So one way to adjust the intensity is increase the length of time. If walking for 20 minutes doesn't do it anymore, try to go 30, go 40. You can also increase the resistance. So if you're weight training, and at first when you started doing that chest press, that weight at 20 pounds felt really tough. Now you can do it all day long, increase the weight to 30. The next one we're going to talk about is the increase in the speed. So again, walking or biking, if it normally takes you 20 minutes to walk around your neighborhood, try to pick up the pace, try to take a bigger stride, try to cut off some time on that walk. Another way to adjust the intensity is to increase the incline or elevation. If your neighborhood's flat, it might not be challenging. Go somewhere where there's some hills. If you're on a machine, increase the intensity. If you're on the incline. If you're on a bike, add some resistance. Another thing you can do is to decrease your rest or recovery time. So if you're doing weight training, some people will do a certain number of repetitions and they'll sit and they'll wait and then they'll do set number 2. If you stand up and go on to the next machine fairly quickly, you're going to decrease the recovery rest time. It's going to increase your heart rate, increase the muscle fatigue. Another way to adjust the intensity is to combine multiple exercises. So if I'm doing squats and then push-ups, that's more challenging than just doing squats. You're working an upper body muscle and then a lower body muscle. And the body has to work hard to work both those muscles at the same time. Interval training is also another way to make a good adjustment. That includes both cardiovascular and strength training. So if you do a set of jumping jacks and then go do a chest press and then do another set of squats and then do a lat pull, you're doing cardiovascular in between your strength training, which is going to keep your heart rate elevated the whole time, which is much higher intensity.
Hey, Eric?
Yes.
Quick question. This was about stretching, kind of a little bit like the cardio question. Can you do stretches only? Are there any benefits?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Any of the components of exercise, if you're doing one, that's fantastic. If you're doing 2, that's great. All 3 will make it a truly balanced program. But stretching and flexibility is a huge important part of that, especially if you find that it helps benefit with low back pain. If you're seated a lot, another forms of stretching can also be classes like yoga classes or Pilates, anything that elongates the muscle. You don't have to be in a cardiovascular or strength training program to see the benefit of flexibility. So no, that's fine. All right, so we're gonna take, actually we're got a couple minutes left. So before we finish, I want to go through the next slide real quick. And I do have an activity plan for everybody. It's gonna be a push-up contest. Just kidding, don't worry. You don't have to do any push-ups. So this slide here, the variety is a spice of life. The goal here is to change things up. If you get stuck in the same rut and do the same thing all the time, your body won't see results. So it's important to change things around, okay? So we're gonna pause the slides here now, and I wanna do a quick activity for everyone at home. So if you would please, go ahead and stand up. Make sure you have enough room so that you have room to reach side to side. And this is an exercise called a stretch break. We do these at work all the time for business units who find that they're sitting in meetings all day long. And this is something that you can do anywhere, anytime. You don't have to change your clothes. You won't sweat. You won't get hurt. So let's start off again with a couple deep breaths in. Big inhale up. And exhale. One more time. Big inhale up. Exhale. Now with your arms to your side, I want you to do something called a shoulder shrug. Bring your shoulders up to your ears and then relax. Up to your ears, squeeze, and relax. A lot of times if we're sitting during the daytime and we're keyboarding, we tend to brace. The shoulders start creeping up towards our ears. We forget where they're supposed to be. They're supposed to be down here. So if you find yourself bracing while you're working, shrug up and relax. Shoulder circle, big circles back. That's another great way to loosen up the shoulders and neck. And if you feel any crunching or popping, you might need a chair massage when we're allowed to get back to the real world. All right, deep breath in, big inhale up. And exhale. All right, we're gonna stretch our neck now. Take your hand on the side of your head, relax the opposite shoulder, and you're gonna bring your head slowly across. When you stretch, you wanna hold it for about 12 to 15 seconds, And if it hurts, you're going a little too far. Stretching should not be painful. And relax. And let's do the other side. Tilt the head, relax your shoulder. And when you're standing, you always want to keep your knees slightly bent. Try not to lock out your knees. And then relax. Now we're going to look over one shoulder, turn to the side. Get as far as you can without pain. And back to the center. And now the other side. And back to the center and shoulder circles. Now, if you chose not to stand up, that's okay. These are all stretches you can do from the chair, so don't worry. Big inhale one more time. Exhale. And for the arm, you're going to stretch your shoulder, bring arm across. Other arm comes from underneath, and you're going to bring that arm close to the body. At the end of the PowerPoint slide, I do have a list of stretches, so if we don't get to all of them right now, I can always go over them later if you want. And relax. Other arm, cross the body, bring it in and hold. And relax. The next stretch is an upper back stretch. Press your arms forward, and you want to feel the stretch right between your shoulder blades. Again, when you're standing, keep the knees slightly bent. Bring the arms in. Press your arms over your head. And you're going to lean to one side just a little bit. Again, if it hurts, you're going a little too far. Back to the center and the other side. And back to the center. And let your hands float down behind the back. And now bring your shoulders back. This is a chest stretch. Shoulders back. And relax. Shake out the arms. Shoulder circles. Big inhale. Exhale. And relax. Good job, guys. You can go ahead and have a seat again. Well, thank you again for coming to the presentation. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It was a pleasure being invited, and I hope to have some questions from you all. If we don't get a chance, there's a couple slides that we didn't have time to go through. These are case studies. These are situations that I've heard from the fitness center, so I made these people up. The situations, though, are things that I've heard before. So the reason I added these to the slide deck is because some of you might read this and go, you know what, that sounds very familiar to me. So the case study talks about the person and what their exercise prescription is. Exercise prescription is a term I use all the time. I love it. So if you go to the doctor and you have something and they give you a prescription, you got to follow it or else you won't get better. Your exercise prescription is the same thing. If you don't follow it, you're not going to reach your results. So the case studies here talk about exercise prescriptions for a couple specific different people. If you see one that rings true for you, fantastic. If you'd like me to help you with an exercise prescription, I'd be more than happy to help you. Always just feel free to email me. We can talk about it through email.
Eric, just wanted you to know that Margot just said, thank you. This was great, especially now that we are stuck inside. I appreciate all the input to teach me to care for myself, and other chapters are wanting you to go there. So
the USA tour, huh?
That's right.
We get t-shirts made for that?
Yeah.
Well, Margaret, you're welcome. And everyone else, thank you so much for coming. And I really do appreciate questions. So please feel free to email me. And I know there's over 100 people online, so I don't care if everyone emails me. The more questions I get, the more I can help you. So I really appreciate you guys coming tonight. I know we're all busy, and to take time out of your schedule, especially in the evening time when you have other commitments, it really means a lot to me. So thank you so much for being here, and continue to do the good work that you guys are doing.
Eric, thank you. Can they get a copy of the slides? Is that okay if we send them?
Absolutely. Please
Okay.
feel free, shoot over.
Great. A lot of questions coming in, but please just send them to Eric. You've got his email contact information. So again, Eric, this was fantastic. Thank you.
You're welcome, guys. Thank you so much for having me.
And lots of positive feedback, Eric. So thank you
Great.
very, very much for this incredible presentation tonight.
My pleasure.
Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Stay safe, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for everybody who has logged in. There's 155 participants tonight, which is pretty good.
Telling we saw
Lorraine-
161, actually.
Oh, really? Lorraine says that we need this session more frequently, Eric. So We may be
very
asking you to
good.
come back.
Well, I'd be happy to do a stretch break. The one I did here was just an abbreviated version. So normally stretch breaks are about 15 minutes. We do a full body stand up. So I'd be happy to come back and offer you guys a stretch break if you'd like.
Awesome.
We
Thank
can
you very,
definitely
very
talk
much.
about how we fit it into our schedule.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again, Eric, and thank you, John and Eric, for setting this up. And we will see you. Keep an eyeball out for our next webinar, which should be somewhere in the beginning of June. We're going to be setting up a series of webinars over the summer to keep everybody engaged and connected and healthy and happy and educated. Anything else from you guys?
Somebody wants Eric's email. It's Igor, I-G-O-R, the digit 1 at Comcast.net. Is that right, Eric?
That's my personal email. I use it more frequently. So that email address is trafforde@aetna.com. Trafford, the letter E, at aetna.com.
Trafford is 2 F's, right there, right, Eric?
Correct. TRAFFORD.
I just
And
posted
I've
it
sent
in
that out
question.
into the question and answer session so
Yeah.
people can see it there if they want.
Great.
Susan says she likes the idea of a stretch break too.
Good.
So by way of wrapping up, I want to make sure that everybody's attuned to keeping an eye on our website. We will be staying active through the summer. In the past, we've generally taken the summer off, but since we're also locked down, we feel like it's important for the chapter to be present with you and providing all kinds of opportunities. So watch. We'll be in conversation with Eric about how to fit him into the schedule that we're working on putting together, and we hope to see you all again soon.
And again, if you're interested in presenting for us, please email me at colleen.morley@cmsa-chicago.org so that we can get our summer lineup squared away. Thank you very, very much, everybody, for attending, and have a great evening. Stay safe.
All right. Good night.
Good night.